Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com. Hello and welcome to SciTech Culture, the show where we discuss science, technology and culture in its myriad of forms. My name's Ben Warner and I'm joined once again by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern. How are we today, Steve?
I'm good, Ben. Hello, everyone out there in STC land.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about computers because that's what we like to use around here. I can see one in the background there that you've got a vintage one, just like mine. So just to preface this, with PC sales growth flatlining, and now even with mobile devices such as the iPad experiencing the same problem, the question can be asked, did PC and device performance become good enough for most mainstream users some years back? The average person today is content to use a computer to browse the web, create or edit the occasional document or spreadsheet, catch up with people on social media, and watch the occasional YouTube video, and quite often not in its full quality if you can pick it. So all of these tasks are arguably more than covered by a smartphone or tablet or a computer that's even, say, 5-6 years old. So that is a good question, isn't it? As a starting off point, Apple's had its big announcements that it usually does in September. Now, I'm not saying that all the devices are well made, they're great, and yada yada and all that. They're not exactly, making jaws drop or anything. But when you think about it, there isn't anything there that you can arguably do more than what you did before. Now, to be fair, there's some features in there like 3D touch and whatnot that might speed things up for you and things like that. You've still got your 4S and it's still going well. I upgraded my iPad 3 here to iOS 9 and it seems to be running better than on iOS 8. I'm actually using it right now during the show for the notes. So what gives there? Are they sort of hurting themselves? Not just Apple, I guess pretty much anyone who's making these computers so well. Are they ignoring their own sort of sales model by not building in some upgradability to these things?
I think maybe we're in the crossover in that post-PC era that Steve Jobs talked about. But I think there's something quite interesting going on here. Sure, we've hit a technological peak, but have a look at some of the Apple products. There's an Apple Watch. There's a phone. Phone comes in 2 versions. I think the watch comes in 2 versions, or a variety, but a sports and a classic. And then I think you look at the tablet range. Now we've got the Pro.
Yeah.
We've got the normal iPad and then a mini iPad. Then let's look at the rest of the range of what would be termed the old devices, like the ones I've got behind me.
Yeah.
In that area, in the actual physical, what one might be termed as PC or desktop/laptop space, Apple's looking a lot like it did 20 years ago. Loads of products, poorly defined. I don't know what their purpose is. If I've got an iPad Pro, do I need a laptop? I don't know. If I've got a 6 Plus, do I need an iPad? I don't know.
Well, it's arguable if you've got a 6 Plus, do you actually need anything else if you're not really a heavy computer user?
That's correct. Now, we hardly ever hear about the Mac Pro stack. I don't even know what it's called anymore.
Oh, the trash can.
The trash can, yeah. I don't even know what it's called anymore. Do you think that a lot of these legacy, and I think we have to call them legacy products now, laptops even legacy products, do you think they're going to drop off the perch somewhere along the way there, Ben?
Well,
Is that what we're seeing?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. To expand it out even further, when you look at Windows PCs as well, with Microsoft making Windows 10 workable on a Windows 7 era PC. Now you have to remember that that's back into 2009, 2010.
Back in 2009, a long time ago.
I mean, human years, that's not a long time, but in computer years, that might as well be last century. But I mean, you remember those years, late, well, in the 90s definitely, and then probably up until about 2008, 2009. You had to keep upgrading because the new release software would make everything run slower.
That's
Parts,
right.
maybe the actual hardware itself, the parts were not as well engineered so that they could last as long. Now they're making them to last really long. And something that I did want to bring up, which was a article that I came across in PC World from 2 years ago, which should set off some warning signs that they were already talking about this then.
Bit behind on your reading, are you, Ben?
Exactly, yeah. But the article was basically saying that Moore's law, not mobility, is actually killing the PC, which is probably a good enough way to say it because basically around that 2010 sort of time frame, I think that's where we passed the point where you don't need anything to be faster. Now, maybe guys like us who, produce content, not that we're, compared to some others, we're not heavily industrial pro or anything, but maybe we need a bit more guts in the machine. But even then, I've got my 2008 iMac can still edit video. Just a couple of months back, I re-edited one of my old films on it to spruce it up, give it a, sort of spruce it up a bit, give it the George Lucas special edition treatment. And not that hopefully it didn't turn out badly or anything. But the point was is that I could still use that 2008 iMac to do all of that. So.
Yeah, I think you've already really said it. I mean, if you've got 8 cores in your phone, I mean, what more do you need than that? I mean, if you've got the app, you can edit video on there, and in the next iteration, we're going to be shooting 4K and cutting it on our phones. I mean, you could never have imagined that probably even 5 years ago.
I think the key thing is that it's at some point, and maybe it is around that time. Well, for me, I think computer-wise, it was around 2009, 2010, and for mobile device, it was probably just a few years later, around 2012, 2013, where, like my experience with, say, the iPhone 5, it still is good now to use. But I think the intriguing thing about all of this is that, say something like a company like Intel, they haven't been pushing the performance part really. It's more about more battery, more efficient ways of getting the processor to work. Which that's all good stuff. You want more battery life and all of that stuff out of your devices, and it seems like they're now going down that path more than that seriously pushing it harder and faster.
Well, there's nothing to be gained, is there? Yeah. So I mean, that's really where it's at. But it is interesting because what does it mean if you can have 8 cores and shoot 4K video on a computer the size of your hand? What then? Where's the next step? Do you need a laptop? Yeah. Why do you need that size? Is all you need a screen? And I mean, really, the trash can Mac, you used to need that because you needed the processing power to rip through whatever it was. I mean, unless you're working for some sort of secret organisation or at the pointy end of Hollywood, it's like pretty amazing, isn't it, that you'd really require that sort of power.
And just returning to my earlier point about the timing and everything, it's like all of these computers and devices and whatnot transition from being computers to appliances. So now what's happening is that I guess we're getting a generation coming through now that just expects their phone, their tablet, and their computers to work just as good as, in the same sense of like the way a toaster does or a fridge does.
That's right.
You just buy it, it works. You're not even worried about, has it got the fastest processor in it or not? And it's almost a shame, really. I kind of think there was something nice about all of that technical jargon and detail and everything. But I think given another 5 years, it may be that's just, that's history, basically.
I think you're right. I think they will all be appliances, and I really don't know how much longer the desktop will go on. I don't know how much longer the iMac will go on for. I think surely the logical thing is to have. I mean, when you've already got devices like Google Chrome and Apple TV, surely what we really need is, and smart televisions as well. Surely all we need is somebody to make a super responsive, genuinely smart TV that will just work with any wireless device.
Yeah.
It can't be that hard.
Yeah.
Can it?
Well, it's just the proprietary nature of different companies' technologies that'll prevent that sort of setup. But like we were saying before we got on, that I like my old iMac, and just my sort of stubborn thinking is, I'll get a replacement after I've gotten 10 years out of it, but it's getting to the point where all I really need is a screen there. And we might have mentioned this before in a previous episode somewhere, that it's getting closer and closer to the point where basically we probably don't even need a tablet. All we really need is to have screens where we need them, and basically we just stream everything off our phone.
That would certainly make things easy, or a discreetly placed Mac Mini that looks like something out of an IKEA catalogue.
Yep, exactly. I mean, and IKEA will probably sell them too. The IKEA version. And I just, I don't know. Do you think something's lost there? Do you think, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's amazing. Essentially just makes computing power that's so powerful that it will change the way you do things at a fundamental level, and that's not a bad thing. But on the same time, I think we're losing something about the nuts and bolts of how computers work, the awareness of a mainstream user to be aware of that sort of thing. I think the analogy that I'd heard bandied about was it was when cars got to a point where you didn't have to repair them yourself or service them yourself anymore. The old cars, like I remember my grandfather's 67 HR Holden that you could service yourself completely. You didn't have to take it into a dealership, and then later on, 20 years later or whatever, then the cars, you don't touch them. That you get in them, you drive them, and you take them to someone else if you need to fix them.
Well, I think that's definitely the way Apple's going. I think Android still provides you a little bit of a fix-it-yourself option.
Ironically, yeah.
yeah, it is ironic. I don't think it's intended, but I think you're right. And removing people from, I think, that whole process, and even the cycles of a new machine twice as fast, and need to upgrade everything.
Yeah.
As painful as it was, it gave you a real appreciation of how your computer worked and how everything worked around it. I think now you're right. Computers are all about being sexy. They're like a kettle. They've got a function, and they also have a form. And especially the mobiles these days, they're just as much a part of your personality as they are, what they say about what they actually do. I mean, I've got a 4S, and the only reason that I need to upgrade it is because the camera just isn't up to scratch anymore. But as a phone, and even as a handheld mobile computing device, it's fine. So go figure. Hey, it's the camera what needs replacing, but the rest of the phone's fine.
Yeah, I was just I was remarking to another friend of mine yesterday about the fact that the 4K is becoming prevalent in mobile phones, and the fact that everyone will have, well, not everyone, just people who basically get a smartphone will have the ability to shoot and edit and publish in 4K. It really kind of suggests to you then that you don't need to find distribution, you don't need Hollywood, you don't need any of it. You basically, if you want to go out and do stuff and you can make it as good as you like, you actually do not need really to get that sort of establishment cred to get noticed, because if you do somehow manage to market yourself correctly, You've got all the tools at your disposal. You can carry it around in your pocket. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is, and I'll give you a nice little analogy to show you how far we've come. Back in Australia, but I think it was pretty much global at the turn of the century when high definition was first coming in. The first high definition sets came out. The companies like Panasonic were actually paying people huge sums, and they did this again with 3D television not that long ago. They paid people, professional photographers, huge sums of money to go and make high definition clips because there wasn't any HD content to put on the screens.
Yeah.
This is completely flipped around now, where everyone's going to have a 4K camera.
Yeah.
Before the screens have even arrived. So, it's going to be amazing. You're going to be able to shoot 4K on your phone and then walk into your lounge and get it on there straight away and watch it back. When only 15 years ago, you would have had to have spent $250,000 to get yourself a high definition camera. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, it is a great thing, though. I really like the fact that this technology is just accessible to everyone that obviously can purchase it. But yeah, it's I guess there's a bit of yin and yang to it. I think there's some things lost in terms of the appreciation of what we used to go through with technology, but now there's just a convenience to it that's just amazing.
You can say that again.
We could talk about this all day, Steve, but I think we're a bit out of time. So thanks again for that chat. It's nice to reminisce about this sort of stuff, and kind of makes you feel old a little bit if you can remember how it was in the good old days, and all these young'uns that are out there now just expect everything to work properly. Yes,
absolutely. And I'll just let you in a little secret. Sometime in the next month or two, I'll be upgrading my phone. The big question for everyone out there is, will it be an Apple? Yeah, exactly. And it may or may not be. That's the question. We'll check. But it will have 4K video. That's right. We'll definitely be checking back in on that. All right, so don't forget our website, SciTechCulture.com. You can get all of our links there. You can interact with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. So I'd love to hear from you. And just don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube, Vimeo channels. We've also got our RSS feeds and Stitcher Radio as well. And if you think anyone's interested in these discussions that we have, or the blogs that we write, or any of the topics that we cover, then just send them to SciTechCulture.com. We'd greatly appreciate that. All right, so that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.